Welcome to the Market Mike, where it's not just a purchase, it's the people, the passion, and the process that make it happen. Today we have Steve and Dawn Moyson. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, we have a small family farm, so we run row crops, we have chickens, and a whole bunch of bees. So we turn around and produce all different types of honey.
And the name of your honey is Frog Song Farm.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And tell us a little bit about this award that you have sitting next to you.
We won a grand prize for our spring liquid honey, the Lorain County Fair, and our cinnamon creamed honey has won first place ribbons multiple times in both Medina and Lorain County.
And it tastes amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
So what first got you guys into beekeeping? Was it like passed down family tradition? Was it just a hobby?
It started out for me as a hobby.
Yes.
It was something I just wanted to try. I was always fascinated by honeybees and the whole hive mentality and the superorganism that they create. And I originally thought I would just have one or two hives at the start. And then once it got going, it became addictive and snowballed from there.
And how many hives do you guys have?
40 now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I've gotten to the point now where I raise enough bees that in addition to selling honey and honey products, I also sell bees to other beekeepers.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So you are Frog Song Farm, and you do honey. So can you tell us how the frog kind of works into your logo?
When we were trying to come up with a name for our farm, it was springtime, and we have literally thousands of frogs on the farm, and they all started singing in the spring, and it just clicked, and it's like, that's it, Frog
Yeah.
Song Farm.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't know, a lot of people maybe have an experience when there's a lot of frogs around, but it's deafening, and
Yes.
it's super loud.
It is.
It's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what, you make chocolate honey, cinnamon honey, candies, and so much more. So what do you think makes your honey stand out from others?
We have the two naturals produced by the bees, the spring wildflower and the fall autumn gold, which have very unique flavors on their own. In addition to that, our quote flavored honeys are infused honeys. We don't add flavorings. Some beekeepers just squirt in flavoring oils to make theirs. We actually put natural materials into each of our honeys to pull the flavors out of the material into the honey. So like our elderberry hibiscus, we'll put dried elderberries in there and hibiscus flowers and leave them in the honey for an extended period of time. So that adds additional cost and makes it a lot more difficult, but it makes a much higher quality product.
And I did see that on your page where you were straining it, so that's probably where you're straining out maybe the hibiscus flowers or whatever before you.
Yep, that's what we
Put it
do.
into the
Yep,
jar.
so we'll strain it out so that material is all removed when we go to bottle it.
Yeah, very interesting process. And it really does, like you have so many flavors, it really does taste like hibiscus. And you have elderberry, it really does taste like elderberry. You know, it's interesting, like you could make flavor honey.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, and when we was coming up with the recipes, I went through multiple versions and took them out to focus groups and got feedback from people out there what they thought was the best.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up choosing the different recipes.
Okay, I love that idea. So what is the difference between regular honey, like liquefied, and creamed honey?
All honey, all pure honeys will crystallize over time just naturally. So what we do for our creamed honey is we do it in a controlled manner so the crystals stay very small and it comes out very smooth and creamy like butter.
Okay.
So it's no cream added, it's all just pure honey that's just crystallized in a nice slow manner.
And what are some of the applications that you can use creamed honey?
Toast, bagels, English muffins. And,
Bananas?
Yeah, bananas, yeah.
Yes.
Like the cinnamon, if you don't want to just put it on toast, you can also turn around and just dissolve it quickly into tea.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Tea and coffee and flavor, give it a cinnamon taste.
And plus you're getting the health benefits of honey.
Yes.
What health benefits does honey have?
We use all natural honey. We don't process it like the big stores do. So it's just the way it came from the hives. So it still has pollen particles in it from the bees and all the natural enzymes. So all the natural goodness that comes from the flowers still remains in our honey.
So I have read that bees have different personalities per hive. Is that true?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like going down a street with people's houses where each family is a little bit different. Exactly the same thing with the bees. Some like getting up early in the morning, some sleep in late, some are nice and pleasant, some are a little cranky. They're all a little bit different. It's kind of cool.
And you don't, there's no rhyme to the reason. It's just that beehive is just that personality. They kind of take on each other's characteristics.
Yes, yeah, each one's just a little bit different, just depending on the way they grew up, just like,
Yeah.
like our families.
Yeah. What is the strangest thing that you have experienced working with the bees,
Oh, strangest.
or more interesting?
I don't know if it's interesting, but one of the things that first popped to mind was I was helping a beginner, and he handed me a frame of bees, and they slipped out of my hand and banged into my leg, and I had a whole bunch of bees crawling up inside my jeans,
Oh,
and I had to maintain my composure with the beginner to act like I wasn't bothered by it at all.
okay. Did you get stung?
Oh, multiple times.
Really? So when you get stung by a bunch of bees, do you get immune to the bee stings, or is it just act like a regular bee sting and it?
You kind of build up a tolerance to it.
Okay.
So when I first started, I used to swell up a lot, and now I get stung, and a minute or two later, it's like gone. So
How many times do you think you've gotten stung?
a lot. Sometimes I go long periods of time. Some of the colonies be nice and calm and peaceful, so you can go through multiple colonies without any problem whatsoever. And then you do something stupid where you drop a frame and they crawl up your leg.
Okay.
And sometimes they just get cranky, just like humans.
Yeah.
They have bad days. So
So how do you get stung if you're wearing your suit?
I often don't wear a full suit. I just wear a jacket.
Okay.
So I quite often get stung on the thighs. When I'm lifting heavy boxes, I also have a tendency to rest them against my legs as I'm moving them. So if a bee would get trapped between the box and my legs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's obviously going to get stung.
yeah.
So bees, there's certain things that you have to do, I know, to winter bees over. So can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yes,
Because it is kind of getting close to that season.
yep. Fall's going by very, very quickly.
Uh-huh.
Yes, the biggest thing for overwintering bees is their health. Just like any other, people or livestock, keeping them healthy. And bees get a parasite called a mite, which is kind of like a bee's version of a tick, and it transmits a bunch of viruses and diseases. So they go through starting actually back in the summer to eradicate the mites and keep their levels low, so that the health of the bees is there. Because once it gets in the fall, they actually raise a different type of bee that can live longer in the winter. So we want to make sure that those bees are nice and strong and healthy so they can survive the winter. That's the biggest thing, is the health of the bees.
So they stay in their beehive
Yes.
for the winter time.
It's really cool. Bees thermoregulate their beehives very much like we do a house. In the summer when it gets hot, they bring water in and evaporate it, so they air condition it in the summer. And then they turn around and cluster up in the winter and vibrate their wing muscles, kind of like a supercharged version of shivering, to keep it warm in the winter. So the inside of the beehives stay at 95 degrees all year long.
Consistent temperature.
Yep, very,
So
very
you
consistent.
don't wrap it or insulate it or anything?
Oh, we can to
Okay.
give them assistance.
Okay.
So it's not necessary, but just like people living in a house, you don't have to insulate your house, but it's a lot less comfortable.
So I remember growing up, my mom would always be like, oh, that's a worker bee, that's a worker bee. So how many different types of bees are in a beehive? I mean, I know that there's a queen and there's a worker bee. Are there any other bees inside the hive?
You got two of the three.
Okay.
The third one is a drone. The queen and the workers are all female. The drone's male, and his only purpose is to mate with virgin queens. He does absolutely nothing else for the colony. He's actually a freeloader, just hangs in there and gets fed the whole time by the workers. And come fall before winter, if there's any left in there, they literally boot them out the door because they don't need them to survive the winter. But the queen and the workers are all female. So in a colony, you've got the queen and all the workers are her daughters. So it's one big family unit.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Is there, so what's inside this little display here? So when you look inside a beehive, what are we looking at in there? Are there walls in there? Like, how does that process
Yeah,
happen?
you can open up. Yeah, basically everything is set up with removable boxes and frames so that we could remove the honey when we're doing that, or also inspect the brood and living space for the bees.
Okay.
So this is a small scale model, but the top box here, this would be where the bees store the honey. They always put the honey on top. They raise their young on the bottom boxes, and they turn around and store the honey at top. So they would turn around and put the honeycomb on these frames, which is what would a beekeeper would take out, cut the cappings off, spin the honey out, and put the honeycomb back in for them to refill. And then the bottom boxes.
So there's no bottom on this top box?
Nope.
No.
So basically the honey will run down all of these? Or?
No, the bees will build honeycomb on each of these
Do
frames.
these all have access points?
They come in the bottom. That gap down there is their front door.
Oh, okay.
So they land there on the front porch, crawl in, and then they can go up through the hive stack, all the different boxes, which could get quite tall. As they start putting a bunch of honey in there, we'll put more and more of the honey supers on top.
Okay. As the hive grows? Is
Yes.
that- okay.
So a typical hive could have 50,000 bees. Some of my really good queens, I could have 80 to 90,000 bees in there. So the hive stack is considerably taller.
Now, how do you estimate like how many bees are in that hive?
By how many boxes they fill up.
Okay.
So once they turn around and completely occupy the space inside the box, we put another one on so they have room to.
So you kind of have like a guesstimate of how many bees are in that area.
Yep. Yeah.
If someone has not tried local honey, can you explain the difference between local honey and buying it fresh from a local beekeeper as opposed to ordering it off of like the website or a grocery store?
The big difference is with grocery stores, that's blended honey from these huge packers. And quite honestly, the vast majority of that is imported. It's not even from the US. It comes from China, Vietnam, Brazil, places like that. And the packers turned around and blended it all together. So it's not coming from a local area. So any of the pollens or any of the benefits from the local honey are completely non-existent in the store-bought honey. They also process that, which takes out all the beneficial enzymes and pollen particles because they don't want it to crystallize. So they'll treat the honey with high temperatures and ultrafiltration so it doesn't crystallize, but that takes a lot of the health benefits away from it.
Yeah.
So if you get it local, then you're getting it from the flowers around where you live. So if you have an allergy to certain flowers, you don't want to buy it offline from somebody selling it in Florida because the flowers and trees and everything are completely different than what we have in Northeast Ohio.
All right. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because you're building an immunity to your community, basically, as far as the pollen. So, if the bees could talk, what do you think they would say about you being as a beekeeper?
Oh, sometimes he bothers us too much. and he steals all the good honey we put in there over the course of the season. Which, that's a good point. As a beekeeper, the health of our bees is paramount. If you don't have healthy bees, you don't have honey, you don't have anything. We can't take too much of the honey away from them because we have to leave enough honey in winter stores so they have food in there to get through the winter. Interesting, bees eat only two things. They bring nectar in from flowers to make honey, which is their source of carbohydrates, and then they bring pollen in, which is their source of protein. And the pollen they get from all the different flowers out there, so they have all the different amino acids and minerals and vitamins they need to live a healthy life. So just eating those two things, honey and pollen, the bees survive very well.
How long is the lifespan of a bee?
In the summer, unfortunately, it's very short, only 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh.
Worker bees literally work themselves to death in the summer. They move constantly, and they actually wear their wings out. So if you see a bee on a flower and she's sitting still long enough, if you look at the back of her wings and it's nice and smooth, she's a young worker bee yet. If it's all starting to get ratty and torn, then she's getting towards the end of her life. In the winter, the bees actually change their physiology, and they don't go out and fly. So instead of only a 6 to 8 week short lifespan, it becomes 6 to 8 months. And it allows them to survive through the cold winter and raise the bees again in the spring for the next season.
How far the bees travel?
Oh, how far do bees travel?
They can travel up to 2 miles away from their colony. So basically a 4 mile circle around the house or around their house to get their food. Just like us, we can go to grocery stores a long distance away, but if there's one right around the corner, we'll go to the closest one. Bees are the same way. So if there's a lot of flowers and forage from them close by, they'll go to that first and then go further and further as they need to get their food. But they can go up to 2 miles away from the colony.
Do they have to take breaks in between, or you think that they can fly 2 miles consistently?
During the nectar flow, the bees, the foraging bees, will leave, go out, hit the flowers, come back with a full load, and they go in the front entrance, and just inside the colony, they'll transfer that nectar load to an inside house bee, and they'll immediately turn around and go back out. And they'll do this continuously during the course of the day.
Yeah.
Interestingly, bees sleep just like humans do, but the different bees sleep in different manners. The foraging bees, they basically work first shift, so they're outside when the sun is shining. So they'll sleep throughout the night. They just find places away from the activity in the hive and just hang out and catch their shut-eye. The queen and nurse bees, a queen works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So she doesn't sleep overnight. She actually is still laying eggs overnight. So she'll take a short break and then take cat naps throughout the day. Same as the nurse bees. The young bees need to be fed literally hundreds of times a day as they're growing, since they grow so quickly. So nurse bees also will just take short cat naps to catch their sleep.
Is the life expectancy of a queen bee the same as a worker bee, since she's not flying around so much?
They can live 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So it's much longer than the workers or drones. So she'll, when she's first raised and born, she'll leave the colony once, get mated, come back in, and she'll spend the rest of her life in the colony. The only time she could possibly leave is they decide to swarm and create a second colony. But once again, she only leaves once and stays in the second colony the whole time.
Okay. So you said that she'll swarm and create a second colony. Can you tell us a little bit how that happens?
That's how bees reproduce. That's how they make new families, is they'll turn around and fill the hive up with a bunch of bees to the point where they say, oh, we've got really good food coming in, we've got a successful colony, we've got high population, we're in good enough shape, we can raise a new queen. And they start that process and they start raising new queens. And when that's progressing, the old queen will take half the bees and fly off and start a new colony. And then a new queen will emerge and take over the old one. So that's how the bees reproduce and start creating new colonies.
You had mentioned that when you scrape off the honey, when you actually harvest the honey to put into the bottles, that you leave some in there. How do you, because that's their main food source. How do you know how much of the honey that you can take to be in a safe way that they could still have enough honey for themselves to eat?
Once we get into October, I'll actually turn around and look into the hives and check their weight to make sure that they're completely filled with honey. Should weigh about 100 pounds, roughly,
Okay.
so they have enough to get through the winter. We'll also put some sugar blocks on the very top, just in case they turn around and come up a little bit short. During the course of the winter, the bees will move up in the hive box, and if they get to the top before spring, they could run out of food, so we put some extra sugar blocks on the top, which also gets back to how they make it through the winter. The bees in the winter will cluster together in a tight clump to stay warm, and they'll start out down at the bottom in October, and then as the winter goes along and they eat the honey, they'll work their way up to the top.
You can buy, the bee pollen, I noticed. And I really never knew what the bee pollen was. And then I did a little bit of research. Can you tell us about what bee pollen is, how you collect it, and the benefits of that?
The pollen is small, tiny particles on all the flowers, and that's how the flowers reproduce. So the flowers need the bees to turn around and pollinate so they can reproduce. So what they do is they turn around and produce nectar, which brings the bees in. So it's like, here's something sweet for you, come visit. And when they do, they also collect the pollen, which pollinates the flowers. But the bees will turn around and collect it and pack it onto their back legs in pellets. So if you see a bee flying around flowers, you'll see these big, colorful pouches on their back legs.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I always wondered, how are they going to get that off?
Yeah. Well, they bring it in, go up into the hives, and another bee will help knock it off, and they actually physically grab it and push it into the honeycomb, and they'll pack it in and fill the cell up and put a cap over it to preserve it. But that's what the nurse bees will eat during the course of the year for their protein source to raise the young ones. As a beekeeper, how we get it is we'll actually take the bottom box, lift it up, and put a special pollen trap in the bottom that's got screens in there. So when the bees come in, instead of just coming in and going right up, they have to squeeze between two screens, and it knocks the pellets off their legs. And then we'll have a tray we can slide it out. So we can collect the pellets off the bees that way. So when you get a bottle of pollen, you look in there, each of those pellets, a bee had one on each of her hind legs.
So how do you know it's a safe amount of the bee pollen to take?
As a person just starting out, just eat a couple pellets at a time. If you have allergies to pollen, you don't want to turn around and gulp a whole bunch at once because you may get an allergic reaction. So you just start with a little bit and build your way up until you get to the point where you take half a teaspoon or a teaspoon. And that also gives you the benefit of all the protein and the different minerals and vitamins in there as well.
And I tasted it. It kind of tastes like a sweet dandelion to me.
Okay, yeah, it's a very unique flavor.
Yes, it is. It's not bad. Like if you were, because I heard somebody just, you could eat it plain, like right off the spoon. You don't have to, but you could put it in your coffee, your tea, you can put it on oatmeal, whatever you want.
Yogurt and smoothies and
Yeah, a million different ways to take it.
It's interesting because I never knew what bee pollen was until recently. Okay, so before we go, can you give us your best bee pun to date?
Oh, I've heard so many good ones, but spur of the moment, I can't remember any.
there's, I don't know, the typical be happy. I have a saying, when I get stung, I like stupid bees, so yeah, and I get stung and I'm not as fortunate as him, I do swell. So, but yeah, I love bee puns.
Yeah, there's a million out there, and I cannot think of any at the moment.
You'll be thinking about them all later, right?
Yes.
And you are the queen bee.
I am.
Yeah.
And the queen bee. And the queen bee controls the hive, so her temperament is what controls the hive.
Well, thank you for visiting the Market Mike Frog Song Farm, where the people, the passion, and the process all come together.